of this comes from like having that trust and intuition within yourself that
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Like you know if something feels right or it feels wrong within yourself. Like this is the same thing mentally and emotionally. Like I know I shouldn't be telling myself I'm stupid in my head, but damn, I feel stupid right now.
Right.
And being able to say, I accept that I feel this way right now, but understand maybe the action was stupid and it was a mistake, but I am not stupid and I am not a mistake.
Hey guys, welcome back. This is free therapy, where the therapy isn't real therapy per se,
But I'm a real therapist.
And I'm your life therapist, spiritual guide, person who has just lived life and doesn't have really any reason to give you advice that you should necessarily take. But hey, I'm here and I'm human and you're human. And we're going to talk today about something that's really deep in our humanity, is the need to fix stuff in our life immediately and not being able to sit with what's uncomfortable in our lives so that we can learn from it and heal from it and move on. So do you want to start?
No, you can start.
Okay. So this is something I have struggled with a whole lot. I think this is something that everyone struggles with, is like especially in our society. Like I think definitely like we're in America. So like if you're going to talk about our accents, we're in America. And we are living in this society. I think capitalism plays a huge role on it, of being like, your life is not okay. You need to fix everything immediately right now. And we have like, especially like as millennials, I think we have this this culture of like instant gratification, like needing to fix anything that we're uncomfortable with immediately. Like technology is always working for like get us things faster and work on things better and harder and more and all of these things. And no one knows anymore how to sit in uncomfortable shit and just let it be uncomfortable and just accept that it's uncomfortable and know it's not going to be uncomfortable forever. But that it is right now, and being like, okay, well, it is uncomfortable right now. And, allowing yourself to actually to sit with it. So I think that it's easier for people to relate mental uncomfortability and learning how to sit with your emotions when you can relate it to something physical, right? So, one thing, what you brought up the other day was learning how to be comfortable being hungry. I think that that's a really good example on how to like start your learning how to be uncomfortable, because, I think a lot of people, like if you are hungry, you just want to fix it right then. And sometimes it's better to learn how to be hungry and to sit with your hunger, for you to become more in tune with your body, for you to say, okay, well, I know what hunger is, so that I know what it means to be full. So that I only eat when I'm full. I only eat till I'm full. I stop when I'm full, and I'm only starting to eat to begin with when I'm actually hungry. You know? So, because I think like if you constantly, like you can confuse hunger with boredom and all of these
with
other
thirst.
things. Right. So, and that relates to getting to know yourself intentionally and doing that, not just physically, but mentally. So if you're anxious, learning to being aware, like, okay, I am anxious. That's I am hungry, step one. So instead of like, once you get to this certain level of like saying, okay, I'm aware of my anxiety, you want to fix it immediately. And that's the issue that I was talking to you that I was dealing with the other day, was being in this constant state of like, okay, I'm anxious, I'm fixing it. I'm anxious, I'm fixing it. I'm anxious, I'm fixing it. But the anxiety is still showing up because I'm not resolving the root of the problem. So I'm not knowing myself intentionally enough internally to say, okay, what's causing this? So like, a physical attunement might be, okay, I have stomach issues, right? So me saying, oh, I'm eating, I'm living my life, and I'm uncomfortable. Okay, I'm going to try to take a Tums, take a whatever to fix it. But I don't really recognize and see what caused the uncomfortability. What, like, how do I sit with that enough to say, like, okay, well, dairy caused this uncomfortability. So maybe I need to consider taking dairy out of my life. It's just like emotions, like, okay, I'm having anxiety right now. Why am I anxious? Can I adjust this thought pattern? Can I reframe? Can I think about it? But also just being able to sit with it and say, yep, I'm feeling anxious right now. Yep, because when you are able to be aware of it and you're able to like place name it, to be able to name what you're feeling, you can like feel it and then let it go.
Right. Yeah, I think what I was talking about, with the eating specifically for me is, definitely like you said, right along the lines of that. And I just had to realize that, I think it was like I noticed that change in how I eat like after I became pregnant. And I was telling you that like I would get really nauseous and then I just wouldn't feel good. And then like I would just get like ravenously hungry where I've just like got so hungry it was like painful to be hungry. And then then any type of that uncomfortability, like after that, when I like, after giving birth and stuff, it was really hard for me to sit and not be hungry because sometimes I would associate that with like being sick and then I would want to eat something. And then, if I do what?
It's a reassociation.
Right. And so
by reassociating.
And then, so when I was feeling like really, all those feelings, like, and I was already feeling really hungry, I would start eating more than I really needed to. I would not pay attention to when I was full, and I would just continue eating, and then I would just like not really be mindful with my eating at all.
Gotcha.
And so I had to like really realize that and change how I view the feeling of hunger, and just like, just pay attention to it, kind of process through why it's making me feel uncomfortable. Should I try to find other ways to do something about it besides eating, or should I just sit in it for a minute and just feel what it feels like, since I never felt feel it,
Yeah, I think that's, sorry.
No, I was just gonna, you can go ahead, because I was just gonna kind of go into the yoga thing after that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think like in terms of learning to let mental stuff go like that, like what you're saying, reframing it's like so important, like rethinking about how you feel about a certain thing, because like reframing my perspective on and we'll get into this with the yoga conversation, but like reframing my perspective on that feeling anxious is bad. And think of it more as, this is my internal self trying to communicate something, a need that's not being met.
Yeah.
So it's like a warning flag, and then if I'm like, okay, what need is not being met? Because there's always something that is making me feel unsafe. That's causing that anxiety. And either how can I say, no, I am safe, and reiterating your safety to me, or how can I resolve that within myself? And sometimes it does look like, like inner child healing and stuff like that. But if I reframe my mindset on, my anxiety is a good thing of my body and my mind trying to communicate with who I am, and trying to communicate with the observer, who is me, to be able to say something is wrong, we need to fix it, and thinking about, okay, well, how can I fix this?
Yeah. I think what also gives me hope is that in the times I've moved past the place in my life where I don't feel hope for the future of getting out of that place.
Yeah.
So even though I get uncomfortable, I know it will come to an end eventually, because I'll make a decision to end it, or because I'll do something that will help it get better, or somehow it will be resolved. And
Right.
I think what's hard though is now realizing, okay, this is going to end because everything must balance. There is this natural, like,
Mm,
rhythmic up and down, to certain extents of good and bad and quote unquote, or all the things that are happening to us, and they balance their self out. So eventually I will head back up. But, so how do I deal with that in this
right.
moment now is,
Right.
I think, where I'm at. Like, how do I cope with the discomforts in different ways? Because,
Yeah.
your discomfort for hunger needs you to respond in one way, and then your discomfort in your, say,
Yeah.
body doing yoga is a different thing that you have to, like, one can require, well, you could probably do breath work for both, but you know what I'm saying. You could drink a glass of water, or you
Right.
could breathe through a stretch that's really hard, or you
Mhm.
know,
It's
use your
coping
coping skills.
Yeah, so like I'm thinking, what I'm hearing you say is that when we are in going through something hard and we're experiencing, something difficult, whether it be something physically difficult, something emotionally difficult, letting go and being able to sit with it, and like
Mhm.
being able to sit with it is letting it go, and being able
Mhm.
to sit with it sometimes can just mean literally just being physically uncomfortable and sitting with it and taking deep breaths until you get to the other side of it, and just until it finishes, and like counting down, like those coping mechanisms,
Yeah.
but also reframing how you think about that difficult space you're in and how you feel about it,
Right.
being able to say, not say necessarily that you like it, but being able to find a way to like it in a sense
Right.
that allows you to accept that it's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just like giving birth. You almost have to get into a headspace to realize this is happening. I can't get out of it.
Right.
It has to keep going. So what are ways that I can make myself a little more comfortable while going through this experience? And your mind is the same way. Like, what do you need, if you're going through any hard time, whether your dad died, or, like, you're dealing with the loss of a job or a child or whatever, it's like, what do I need to do to heal in this situation and can
Right.
continue to, like, work through it at whatever speed you need, doing whatever you need to heal, because we're all different.
Right.
So, um, I mean, but like in yoga the other day, it was just like it was getting into an uncomfortable pose, and
Hmm.
like I would with anything physical pain, I like was able to breathe through it. I breathed into it, and then somehow was able to be mindful of it and to kind of look at the situation, what's going on, and really think about it, and then think about, like, okay, well, can I let some of this go? And I
Hmm.
let some of the tension in my body go from that pain that I was bracing myself with. And
Yeah.
I felt all of a sudden able to hold myself stronger, because the
Mhm.
tension I was holding was half of the strength I needed to hold myself. So
Right.
in life, we're bracing ourselves instead of, like, kind of try to go with the flow. And so we are bracing ourselves against something that we know has to happen, but we
Mhm.
don't want to go through it. And instead, we're fighting in it. We're like we're swimming up current instead
Right.
of grabbing a life raft and
Right.
floating downstream.
Hey, yeah, I think about
Yeah.
that like in changing Zora's diaper. So she just turned 7 months old, and she's very strong. Like, I don't know how she's so strong. And she, like, a lot when I'm trying to change her diaper, she's like fighting me to roll over,
Yeah.
lift her body up to like get away from the situation. When she knows I'm gonna put a diaper on her, she can't get out of me putting a diaper on her.
Mm,
Like, you're not potty trained, sis. Like, you gotta wear a diaper. You're only 7 months old. And
right.
like, it's like one of those things is like if she just relaxed and just sat with it being uncomfortable and let it happen, it would be done
Mm,
sooner. It would have been done sooner. It would have been done already. And
right.
I relate a lot anyway to what you're talking about with yoga, because I turned to consistently doing yoga. I haven't really gotten back into it being postpartum yet, though I'm working on it. But like I went through this long period of going to yoga like every day for like almost like a year. And I was feeling so incredible with that because it was a really mental and physical tied thing, right? And I decided to reframe, like, I'm not, and nor have I ever been, an athletic person in any sense. Like, I never got taught how moving my body could feel good, and moving my body, you know, it just was always this dreaded, terrible thing associated with bad body image for me. So when I chose to do yoga, I tried to step out of, like, okay, thinking about how my body looked and thinking about all these things. And it was like being in a hard yoga pose, and you just have to sit there. Like, that's part of yoga, is literally getting into this hard ass pose and just sitting there. And they talking like about breath work. It's so important. And I think we should talk about that next, is like what breath work is and how that can be beneficial in sitting with it. But yeah, like, I used breath work in, like, my mental, you know, ideas of, like, how to let it go, and reframed, like, okay, everything is energy. My body is energy, and the tensions I'm holding or feeling in a specific muscle, that's energy. That's my body working. That's my body, like, giving flowing blood and tension, and holding that because it's decided it's important. And if I'm feeling in like doing a stretch, or feeling in like an intense like feeling in a certain stretch, that's energy that needs to be released. So like choosing to like breathe into it rather than tense up because of it, and letting it just happen and go how it was going to happen within my body, I'm able to let energy out and allow that release within myself.
I think another thing that I heard you say in there is, like, you know, you allowed yourself to see it differently. So, like, also taking perspective, like choosing to look at the difficult situation differently. Like, okay, yeah, this is hard. So you're not invalidating yourself, but you're also realizing, like, is there a different way I can look at this? Like, how is a more positive spin on this thing that I need to go through?
Yes, exactly. You know, everything is choosing to intentionally decide what your perspective is going to be. That's how that's how anyone gets past mental hardship. That's how anyone gets past any type of hardship, is saying, I'm not going to get, like, yes, I feel this, and I allow myself to see and accept this. Like, everyone says, Beyonce says, you allow yourself to feel something really intensely and really, really feel it for 24 hours. And then you just focus on moving. Yeah. You just focus on how you can do better and get out of it and get in a better mind state. So it's like, you have to let yourself feel it. But if you like play the sad songs and cry in your bathtub, like, really just be like, fuck, this sucks, and life sucks, and this situation sucks, and just let yourself feel that when you need to let yourself feel that. If it's more than 24 hours, obviously that's your time frame. Whatever you need to do, take your time. But once there's a certain point that you have to become in tune with, and saying, at some point, this is not going to help me to stay in this emotion, and I need to focus on what is going to help me here, and what is going to help me get out, and how to be focused on the good that is happening, living in gratitude. That is so important.
I think that's a really good point. Like, I really think that's like a really healthy way to think. I think I saw the same like post with her quote like about that, and I was like thinking, like, that's exactly what I would tell my clients. Like, you know, allow yourself to really experience what you're feeling. And, you know, like, I even really enjoyed hearing you like say the point on, like, you know, if your time frame is more, that's fine, but like, make sure that your time frame is realistic for you. Like, if you say a week, stick to it. Like, set boundaries for yourself to protect your mental health. Because if you say, okay, no, I need more than 24 hours, I'm someone who has to kind of really process through something. That's okay. That's who you are. But if that's like, I would not say like let yourself go more than like a couple months, because if you do, you get stuck. And then you get in that frame, and then it's you're in deeper to those feelings. And then I feel like after at that point, like, when are you coming out of it? Like, and I understand, like, I'm not saying, when we say this, I don't think we're saying, like, if you have lost someone and you're grieving them, you should be over them in 3 months. That's not what we're saying. We're
No.
saying try to continue living your life
And
and doing what you need to do to heal, but not in a maladaptive way.
and
You know?
also, so and with that, like, know that life is fluid. They literally say ride the waves. Like, life comes in waves, right? So it's not maladaptive to need to take 24 hours a few weeks later and then refocus. Like, it's learning to find that balance of, like, I'm feeling this right now and I need to take a step back to take a second and feel it so that I can let it go. And then I'll be good and focused on myself and feel like, okay, I'm working on it and I'm doing better and I'm being better. And then in a few weeks, it's like that energy. It's like you need to regain. You need to that's literally recharging to being able to release things.
Right.
Is it doesn't mean if you let yourself have that 24 hours and you choose that time frame that's the only 24 hours you're ever going to get. If
Right,
that's what you
exactly.
need, and then you move forward, and then in a few months you need more time, take what you need. It's all about listening to what you need and how you need to release and what works for you, you know?
I think in my life, I've been noticing a lot more of the times when I really know what I need or want, but somehow tell myself I don't for outside reasons, whether it's, judgments or somebody else's somebody else's opinion is more important than mine, or whatever the circumstances. But I mean, and maybe not everybody's like that. And I've always just been aware of what I need, but like, I think I'm just haven't always allowed myself to have what I need or want or address those things, and so that I've had to really learn how to do that, along with just also just being okay with just things as they are.
And that's a huge part of, like, sitting with uncomfortability, because sometimes choosing yourself and what you need and setting that boundary is uncomfortable. Boundary setting with people is super uncomfortable. If you're a people pleaser, for example, and you have always, like, subconsciously or consciously focused on pleasing, like, your parents, for example, and now you're this person who's working on their self-love and working on boundaries, and you're saying, no, I need to choose to set boundaries, and you're like, okay, I'm going to set boundaries and I'm going to stick to them. Until that person learns that that's a boundary that you're sticking to, it's going to be fucking uncomfortable. It's going to be super uncomfortable. And that's the same as if you set boundaries with yourself, or no matter what level of what uncomfortability you're dealing with, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever uncomfortability it may be, like, you are going to have to sit with it, and you're eventually going to have to deal with it. And that's the only, like, it's okay. Like, just, I don't know. I keep going back to, like, saying, reframing and saying that, like, allowing yourself to believe uncomfortability is okay.
Right. Yeah. And our society teaches us that we can't be uncomfortable because it's a bad thing, and we avoid most of anything that's bad or makes us feel not good because, for, ages, there's been people who publish books about, like, utopian societies, the idea of, having only good. And if you can conceptualize why you need to stay away from just only feeling good in your life, like, just take a week and, like, really think about a time when you were really sad, and then think about a time, like, when you finally got through that period, when you went and did something fun. Like, it felt amazing, right? Because it felt so good to finally feel something again that was not bad. And you think that, like, think about times when you maybe even got bored and having all of this fun. Like, I know some people maybe have not reached their limit to that, but, like, there's a reason why things need to be balanced so that we properly feel them to the right extent and that they always feel very strong. You need breaks from things, people, your emotions, to continue having that appropriate relationship with them. You can have a relationship with yourself and your emotions, and you need to learn that just like a relationship or with your spouse or with your mom, it takes maintenance, and it takes work to understand yourself and those emotions of what you need and to communicate those,
Yeah, it's a conscious effort. It's a conscious effort for sure. Like, it's not that this stuff comes easy to us. It's not that this stuff comes easy to anybody. Self-love does not, like, I remember I was like on Tinder and having this conversation with this guy, and I'm just like talking about self-love, and he's like, yeah, well, maybe it's easy for you, or maybe it's easier for other people. And I was like, no,
you just put the work in.
It's hard as fuck. Like, it's the hardest thing you're ever gonna do, but it's the most fucking worth it thing you're ever gonna do, because you're the person that you're with all the fucking time. So if you can't have a good relationship with the person that you're with all the fucking time, more than anyone else, like 100% of your day, all the fucking time, how are you going to have a happy life? How are you going to have good relationships with other people? How are you going to feel at peace with yourself if you don't, like, everyone has to work through this, or they're going to be stuck in this really fucking miserable place their entire life. Like, no, it's not easy for anyone. It doesn't come easy to anyone. Maybe some people it's less difficult because they don't have as much traumas, because they have the privilege of growing up in a healthy household or whatever, but everyone has something that they have to work through.
Right.
You can't get through this life unscathed by something, even if it's you have too much of something. Like, too much it can absolutely be a bad thing. I mean, you ever made yourself, as a kid, do you ever make yourself sick eating too much candy or sweets or just bullshit for you? I mean, as an adult too, no shame. But, like, have you ever just, like, made yourself sick by eating too much shit for your body?
Yeah.
And then, like, and it's like, it's so good, and it's so good when you're eating it, and then it's like, it gets less good, it gets less good, it gets less good, and then, oh my God, and all of a sudden, I'm sick. And I didn't, how did I get here? I mean, there's the balance and everything. Like, you can't appreciate how incredible a piece of chocolate tastes or whatever if you haven't been focused on eating healthy, or you haven't been down the road of allowing yourself to stop doing that for a little while. There's balance. There's, spiritually and energetically speaking, yin and yang will never not exist. That is the law of the universe. There is this darker energy and there's this lighter energy that are always going to exist together. The duality, and we'll talk about this on, like, the next episode probably, but duality exists in you, in life, in everyone, in everything, all the time. You will never go through life and never have another bad moment. You will never go through life and never have a good moment. You will always have both moments. When there is good happening in your life, something bad will be happening. When there is a lot of bad happening in your life, something good is happening. But you are choosing your perspective. So you can either go through life focusing on the bad, or you can go through life focusing on the good. Allowing yourself to see the balance of the good and bad that does exist, but choosing to believe in the part that you want to believe in, the positive side. That's how you're going to get through this life. That's how you're going to get through hard shit. I'm going through hard shit. I just lost a pet this week, literally a few days ago. Like, that has been really fucking hard for me. Like, I'm one of those people who is, like, such an animal person. I know you are too. And animals, like, my pets are literally my family. Like, they are my children as well as my child. Like, they are such a huge part of my heart. And, like, and I think it's different. Like, we've lost pets recently, like, when our cat Boo died. Like, from, she was, like, I didn't see her every day, but knowing that she passed away, that definitely hit me. That was hard, but I think in a different sense, this was harder in another way, because I saw him every day. because he was just mine, because, you know,
Right.
all of these things. And I'm choosing to say there's duality. Like, there's a lot of good that's happening in my life right now. And there's also that hard shit. And I'm trying to, like, I am choosing to sit with, this is really hard, but also allowing myself to not feel guilty about choosing to look at the positive things and focusing on those things instead of this loss that just happened. Like, I grieved really hard for 2 or 3 days, and I didn't post on social media, or I didn't do anything. Like, I didn't really want to talk to anybody. And then I am choosing now to, like, focus on my peace and focus on the furry and real kids that I have now. 1 kid plural, but my other bunny and my dog and my human child, and focus on doing the best that I can by
Moana.
them, and doing the best that I can by me, because I can't feel guilty about whatever happened. You know what I mean? So yeah, sitting with it is hard, but it's something that, if you learn, it's a skill. If you're able to mold it and figure out how to use that skill to your advantage and how it works in your life, you'll be so much better off.
I really feel like, is that a good place to start, like maybe moving into like how they can start trying to make efforts to do this?
Yeah. So I think that I think now would be a great opportunity to talk about breath work. So
Okay.
do you want to do that, or do you want me to?
I can do it.
Okay.
I mean, they in our classes, you know, a lot of the times, in certain classes, we would actually do meditations and certain breath work. We would have like projects where everybody would bring in a different sort of, you know, intervention or something like that. You know, and interventions are basically just like ways to address issues in therapy. Um, so more of a clinical term, but like, what are you basically doing to resolve this issue or something, like making efforts. So but I mean, you can watch videos on YouTube.
Yeah.
There is a ton of people, I mean, different types of breath work. It's like
Yes,
insane.
a lot.
Insane. It's different from meditation. It's like, it's purposeful breathing, with intent, like breathing with intention and kind of connecting your breath with your mindset. I think, you know, like some of the ones that are really basic that I learned were like maybe square breathing, which is like breathing in at the count of 4, holding for the count of 4, releasing for the count of 4. You could even do like a 4, 6, 8, like, you know, different types of length and different types of breath like that. There, I know people get weird about the woo woo, but even in, like, you know, I know there's people in like bigger cities who like only teach breath. Like, you can go to someone who is just does breath work. And I know a lot of people who are maybe not as open-minded to this are like, oh, what? This guy just gets paid to do breath work. But the same way you learn to breathe during pregnancy and releasing that pain, it is the same way for emotional pain. Like, you know, you breath work to release any type of uncomfortable pain in your body. You just have to do it with intentionality, you know, focus and your mindset, you know, and taking time to maybe meditate in that breath work as well. So it's like very, you know.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think something that stood out to me recently, I was like a couple of months ago, I was listening to one of Brene Brown's podcasts, I'm pretty sure. And it was either her or her guests were talking about the two most, the two people, or the two career paths, I don't know, callings, I don't know, whatever. The 2 types of people in the world that practice and teach breath work the most as part of their work are yoga teachers, combat soldiers. Think about that. So breath work, I think it's really important that we contextualize the importance of breath work. So like in the fight or flight, right? you're holding your breath. Like, so we throughout the day, I know that I do unconsciously am holding my breath or taking a really shallow breaths. And
Yeah, and shallow breathing depletes your oxygen level, which
yeah,
doesn't allow your brain to function like it needs to.
exactly.
So even just taking heavy, deep breaths and sighs, like, I've grown up and everybody always like, why are you sighing? I'm like, I'm just releasing and deep breathing because I haven't breathed all day apparently.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I do that. Like, I've done that a lot, and they say, I mean, even on a spiritual perspective of this, for the people who are listening who are spiritual, like, you are most in tune with yourself and therefore in tune with the universe, and you are most present when you are consciously breathing. So that's how, if you're spiritual and you're trying to connect with the divine, or you're trying to connect with your energy, or you're trying to meditate in any sense where you are able to release, like, that's why breath work to start it is so important, because you are fully able to be within your mind and your energy when you're consciously breathing. Something that I came up with, that I did, like, in a combination with this, like, guy I was building that was spiritual and yoga and all of these things, was I do this thing where I take a deep breath and I keep breathing and I hold it and I let my lungs expand and I breathe in more, and I hold it and let my lungs expand and I breathe in more, and all the way to the very, very tippy top, until there's no matter how much amount of breath you hold, that your lungs are not going to expand anymore. Like, when you're doing a stretch and you stretch and you're like, well, I can only go this far, and you breathe into it and you can go a little bit farther, and then you breathe into it, you can go a little bit farther. You know what I mean? It's like you're letting your muscle expand, but it's only going to get to a certain extent. So once I get to that extent, and usually when I'm doing this, I'm focusing on a very specific intention, thought, or part of my body. So if I'm feeling pain in a certain part of my body, I'll focus all my energy. And every time I take a deeper breath and more and more and more in, I focus, and the energy, I just feel it draining from all my limbs, from my head, from my legs, and draining. And then I'll feel it, the energy pulling to a certain part of my body. And then I hold it as long as I can, and then I very intentionally and very slowly let it go out of my mouth and go as slow as I can. And a lot of breath work is like on a certain count of in or out, but mine is as much as I can hold, as long as I can hold it, and then I slowly release that, and then I do that as many times as I need to.
Yeah.
I think that that's helpful for me. What do you do?
Well, it's mine is different for each emotion. My anger breath is different than my anxious breath, and like when I'm really sad.
Okay.
So I kind of
use throughout your day normally, like maybe just when you're getting stressed or anxious or whatever.
Well, when I'm getting stressed or anxious, normally I have to like really take a space where I'm not just trying to set into a most quiet space that I can.
Okay.
Or at least shutting my eyes to create the illusion that I am by myself.
Okay.
And can kind of just focus on where I need to be right now, because a lot of times we get lost in the chaos of what's in the outside. And so basically just trying to calm the chaos inside and outside of my brain, and trying to like really, I take a really deep breath as well. And then I just like, I feel my heart slowing down, because my anxiety speeds up my heartbeat a lot. And so I focus on it slowing down, and then I let the breath out, and I intentionally feel that energy releasing as well.
Yeah, it's like you're slowing your heart rate down yourself.
Like, yeah, because I just get so worked up and anxious, and I'm like about to have a panic attack. And if I've not paid attention to the symptoms that I'm having that tell me I'm about to have a panic attack, I will have to lay down. Like if I'm already almost mid panic attack, I have to lay down. Like that's something I need for me, and just breathe through that until it ends. But a lot of what we want to encourage is you learning how to spot symptoms of things and help stop them before it gets to, there's so many things you're holding at once, and how do I resolve all 15 of these at once?
Gotcha. So that's another thing we can talk about in terms of like coping and techniques on how to sit with it. So we talked about breath work. Number 2 would be what you were just saying.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Right.
Well, reframing and breath work, and choosing to oh man, I just lost my train of thought. Go ahead with what you're just saying though. that's the next step we're gonna take.
So, what was I just saying?
You might have to cut this part out. We both lost our train of thought, man.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what I was saying. I don't know, but I guess I really want to mention that it doesn't matter.
Sit with it.
Do what?
Techniques on how to sit with it.
Well, it doesn't matter. You can have all the techniques you want to sit on with it, but you have to first make a conscious decision that, like, are you going to be okay knowing that your life will be discomforting again? Like, grieve the thought that you are not going to have an uncomfortable life.
Yeah.
When you can get past that conceptually in your head, all of these will work.
Yeah.
But if you are not past that, you're not going to be willing to put in the time to try to learn the different breath work, to try to learn what your coping skills are, to listen to what you need.
Yeah.
So I would encourage everybody to find a way to release some of that throughout this next week before we post again. What can we release and what can we let ourselves grieve on? How can we come to terms with the death that we will always have to struggle? And then once you can be like, okay, and be okay with struggle as much as you can. Not saying you deserve it, not saying that it's fun, just saying I'm accepting of every moment that comes into my life, because each moment, I mean, even it brought up with Adrienne with yoga this morning. She was just like, every breath is a new moment to live. You can choose to wake up at this breath, at this breath, at this breath. It's up to you. You have to choose it. If sometimes we get caught in not wanting to choose it because we want to believe maybe there will be a time where, we won't have to suffer and it'll be okay. Or maybe you're on the other end of the spectrum and you're so scared of anything good because it's going to end, and you just want to keep yourself subconsciously in the bad because you feel like you deserve it, because you feel like it's going to happen regardless. So you become even avoidant of the happy. But what you have to find is an appreciation for both.
Yes.
This is a part of our journey, is learning to appreciate people, to appreciate yourself, to appreciate every single moment for what it is. Maybe this morning I broke my favorite wine glass while I was doing dishes. And I was like, you know what? I could have got really sad because I really loved it. It was something that, like, my mom gave me, and I really wanted it. And you know what? It was done serving its purpose with me. And now I get to go buy another cute one that I'm going to have until it decides to leave me. This is perspective. This is willingly choosing to see like something different in your life. It's so many layers. You have to be at the beginning and work your way into the layers, or you're not going to jump from like 1 to 15 because you still don't accept anything and you're trying to do some rough work. But do you really want it? Are you really intentionally using these, And
like we were talking about before we started filming, was like, you just have to get to a point. Like, if you're not doing that right now and you're not able to really do that right now, coping might be all you can do right now. And that's okay. Just be gentle with yourself. You'll get there eventually. But there's going to be a point, there's going to be a breaking point where eventually you're going to be over your shit and you're going to be done dealing with it. And you're going to get serious about actually putting the energy and effort in that you need to in order to heal and move forward. So, it's
okay if you're not in, it's okay if you're in any place. The fact, though, is to keep progressing into this better place, because if you're like, I'm in this place, I'm accepting of it now because this is where I want to be. Girl, dude, whoever's listening, if that's what you choose that. But like, also, you want change in your life, this is what we're giving you skills to do.
And I think it's really important to have the coping skills regardless, because that helps you get through the day-to-day stuff. Like, I think even if you are consciously working on stuff, like, you're not going to, like, even if you're like, I'm on my self-love path, I'm on like whatever, it doesn't mean every second of every day you're going to be constantly working on it. But it is important to have those coping skills where you're at with it. So focus on reframing, focus on, like, and if you need help reframing, like, sometimes writing it down, having notes app in your phone, physically writing it down, journaling, something like that is really helpful. Breath work is so important. Being able to figure out what breath work works for your body and will help you get through it. Having a creative release, being able to allow your inner child to come out and to have a moment of true comfortability, of allowing yourself to release that energy within you in some way. Like, if that release is going to be physically through, like, yoga, exercise, whatever, you know, if it's going to be through writing things down, through painting, through whatever it needs to be, like, having some kind of release, like, all those. And then your daily activities, like, you know, if you like to cry in your bathtub and smoke weed, that's cool. If you like to, you know, go walk your dog, that's cool. Like, some kind of something that gives you peace. Focus on what you need to tangibly take care of yourself as if you were a child. Focus on differentiating yourself, like we were talking about in one of the last podcasts. Focus on differentiating yourself as the observer from your body and your mind, and have that separation. And also, you know, having the coping skills to say, okay, well, what do I need? Am I drinking enough water? Am I taking enough time to rest? All these things. But also focus on, like, you're not going to get through hard, uncomfortable shit unless you actually sit with it and deal with it.
Yeah. And I think if you're in a place where you're just doing what you can do right now, which I feel like a lot of people are, you know, just noticing that you're, like, even thinking about this, like, even thinking about, like, having a better life, and let that, maybe I used to dream about stuff, like, at the beginning of my journey, I would dream and give myself hope for, like, how I wanted to be. I would sit up and, like, just, like, think about, like, who do I want to be one day? Like, I want to be this type of person. Well, how do I actively start working to become that? Even if it does, like, and dude, the smallest things add up. You don't need these ginormous things that you can't even reach that step on that ladder. You give yourself, like, these baby tiny steps where, even though one may feel like a mountain one day, and one day you're like, oh, that was like a crack. What are you talking about? It ebbs and flows. But I think what worked for me was, like, I just started researching things. I started trying to really just pay attention. Like, even if that's all the energy you can give is just to pay attention to when something makes you feel good, and maybe try to start to explore it. So, like, I think I started realizing lately that I really enjoy photography. Like, it allows me to be unapologetically, like, creative. Like, I can take a picture, and I don't love hearing if somebody else likes it, but I'm having to realize, do you like this?
Right.
Do you like this, Morgan? Like, you don't need anybody else to like it. This is for you, not for anybody else. And so I think that's how a lot of how we grow is that, like, just taking moments to pay attention to what you need, what you're doing, what's helpful, and adding more of those every day. If it's more helpful for you to, like, it's with anything. If it's more helpful for you to wake up early, get some breakfast, and, like, start your day, and you just feel like you are in such a good mindset, do that. If you need extra sleep because that's who your body is, and you need to sleep in later, and you're okay just, like, not getting breakfast, and you'll eat something later in the day, and you don't even need to eat breakfast till 12. Like, who cares? You decide this for you. Stop looking at everybody else. Stop letting everybody else tell you what you need for yourself. And what I'm actively doing is, in every choice in my day, is this something that will better fulfill me? Will this bring me joy? And even if that's all you can start doing to make change in your life, do it. You may not need to know, like, certain things on, like, techniques, or, like, you don't need to know anything. You could simply just watch this video and, like, you know, start trying to get questions asked of like how you process. Like, do you feel better when you're with people? Then maybe you need a support person. Do you feel better when you're alone? Then maybe you should carve out some time in your day to find resonance in yourself. You decide what you need, but only you know that. So you have to spend some time getting to know yourself, getting to know your needs and your wants, and allowing yourself to get those things, to give yourself those things, you know? So like one day I feel like I want to be active. And so I started, like I said, my new yoga routine, and that's what I'm going to do every day. I enjoy it so much that I look forward to doing it. Don't do something you dread. Switch it up. Go biking instead. Go take a walk. Like, you know,
is like you are not going to hold yourself to something. Like you can only hold yourself accountable for, and you will only consistently and in life, like long term, do things that you like and you feel benefit genuinely.
Those are the only things you want to maintain.
Like that's why like diet culture exists, is because no one wants to do a diet. They just want the results, but they're not able to maintain that diet or that like way of eating because they don't like it. They don't enjoy it. But like the people who change their lives and they start working out a lot or something like that, it's because they found a way to enjoy it. They found a way to really like it. Like you're not going to consistently keep your house clean unless you find a way to like really lean into enjoying how to clean. Like you're not going to continue working on yourself and like your self-love really intentionally and intensely and specifically unless you like know that you're liking it and enjoying it, and you're like learning to figure out like, oh, I really like this benefit and I like who I'm becoming and I really enjoy this and this is really hard but it's awesome. Like you're going to get to a point one way or the other that's what you want to do. So set yourself realistic goals and expectations for what you are and are not going to do, and be okay with those.
I think a lot of it is just learning to accept, and this is a big thing that we talked about at the beach. Like for me, I have always been stuck in this thing of like, if it's how I pictured it in my head, that's how it has to be, or I get violently upset with myself. Or other people or whatever, like not violently, like physically, but like just like
emotionally
kind of, I get overreactive in my emotion, and I don't like to say overreactive, but then I said violent. I'm like, that doesn't sound any better. But like, you know, I don't want to invalidate myself, but I get very emotional and just like, you know, but I have had to, and I started working on this issue in my life when I started applying for new jobs as a therapist. Like out of school, I was like, man, this is going to be the hardest. This is always the hardest job to get, is the one right out of school where you got to prove yourself and you only have degree, you don't have any experience. So I had really wanted to work at the VA because I had heard that they had really good like benefits. And then I'm just like, I didn't hear back from them. So then my friend had told me about Cherokee. And so I was like, I got over there. She was telling me about all her benefits. And I was like, oh my God, these benefits are like even better than the VA. And guess what job I ended up getting is the one at Cherokee. And if I let that moment be like a turning point for me, I'm just like, dude, so wait. And this is what we should all be doing with every moment we get upset, is like realize, why am I getting defensive, or why am I getting upset? What is happening? Let's really rationalize these things out of our emotional space. So like when I'm not in that emotion, let's think about it. Let's digest what's happening to us. So I'm sitting here thinking like, I could be choosing to be upset that I didn't get the VA job because that's what I had in mind for my life. But really in return, I allowed myself to be upset, but be open to other opportunities from the universe. And she overcompensated for even half of what I thought I wanted. She gave me more than what I thought I wanted. And this is like where we need to change our perspective. If you can think like, this is the boy I really want, or this is the job I really want, or this is the car I really want, and I didn't get it. Fuck, I'm so pissed. Like, why is the world always against me? Like, why can't I ever have anything? Instead, say, okay, that one wasn't meant for me. I'm really upset about it. Like, this really sucks. But maybe, just maybe, that means that this is there's something more for me. There's something better.
Right.
Each person I've dated has been better. Each person, like each
Right.
job I get is better because we
Right.
learn our standards and we grow in those things. But like
Right.
that's a way to sit in uncomfortability and disappointment because you think, okay,
know it's gonna be better.
maybe you'll know
Yeah.
it's going to be better. And maybe that for some reason, and being okay with unknown reasons is also very important. But for unknown reasons, you aren't supposed to have that right now. Let it go.
Yes.
So for me,
Yes.
trying to constantly date people in the past that were telling me they didn't want to be with me, and I couldn't
Right.
understand. I kept thinking if I did this thing or
Right.
change myself this way or that way.
Right.
Instead, I should have just been like, dude, focus on yourself,
Right.
and the right person will find you. The right job will find
Right.
you. That's why I'm having so much peace with where I'm at now, because
Mhm.
I'm not worried about making it fit into my model of my life.
Right.
And that helps me hold that discomfortability because I know that
Mhm.
something even better than I could imagine for myself is coming. And I'm manifesting that for myself because I'm fully believing in that energy now.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think that, like, I mean, even if you're not a spiritual person and don't want to look at it spiritually, like, in the perspective of, like, you're learning. And if you allow yourself to be, like, with relationships, like, man, I'm focusing on, if you're focusing on why doesn't he love me? Why isn't what's wrong with me? What's all am I not lovable? Am I not this or that? Or like what's wrong? It's sis, bruh, whoever you are. Sometimes it's not you. Sometimes
Yeah.
like what people are doing or saying are a reflection all the time of what's going on within themselves. You know?
Right.
And you have to like say, okay, well, maybe this isn't going to work out for me, but what did you learn from it? If you learned something and you're able to do better, like you can't do better unless you know better. But once you know better, you can do better. So
Yeah.
what we mean in terms of like, once you work on yourself and focus on yourself, the good will come to you. It's not, you don't even have to necessarily think of it spiritually. You can think of it in terms of like, okay, well, the more I know and the more I'm focusing on knowing myself, the more I know how to do better for myself, and I'm going to do better. Like, I'm going to not deal with these things. I'm going to have better boundaries. I'm like, it's going to get better. It will get better, whether you intentionally choose to believe in the magic of manifestation and spirituality and the universe and law of attraction and all the things that are also really, really important and really, really real. If you don't want to even see that perspective, you can see, okay, I am working against, like, don't compare yourself to others, compare yourself to yourself. It's like my friend lifts weights, right? So she talks about, like, you don't compare yourself to, like, oh, well, this person is able to lift this much weight in this amount of time. No, compare yourself to your own journey and say, okay, well, I was able to lift 5 pounds heavier this time. That's awesome. Right. Like, you can do that with your emotional stuff too. Like, okay, well, I reacted and then was able to come down from it within an hour rather than 24 hours this time. That's awesome. Like, focus on your shit. And the more you focus on your shit, the more you're able to learn about what you need and what you want. And the better your life is going to be. It's going to be, unless you would have to be intentionally doing harm for yourself or intentionally ignoring the lessons that you're learning. And in that case, you're not going to get better like that. But you would have to be like working against the universe, trying. And in that case, like, if you think that that's happening to you, maybe reflect on your patterns, take an objective look and be able to be like, okay, what are my patterns with dating, with self-love, with careers, with whatever aspect of life you want to work on, like be able to say, all right, where am I at? What are my patterns? And if you're able to sit back and look at your patterns of good and bad, you're going to be able to say, okay, well, I'm aware and now I can move on and do better. Once you know better, you do better.
I think a lot of what I'm hearing, how you were reframing a lot of that stuff is just positivity. And I think that comes back to a lot of things. If we can just choose to actively have more positive thoughts and like just having mindfulness, even over our negative thoughts, and like taking the time in that moment to like say, no, I am not going to say that or think that way anymore. I am going to choose. you say that better or more positively or more empathetically to yourself or to another person? Like, if we can just change how we say things, it will eventually go into our behavior and our emotions, because everything is connected. So, I actively catch myself when I get into saying something like that's not really helpful, or it's really basically harmful to me. I'm like, man, that I noticed that. I'm gonna take care of that right now. And I'm learning in a lot of things. I can't let things go. I have to take time to address things then, because I'm not gonna remember, like, at bedtime, to come back and reframe that thought from 2 hours earlier that I should really have said something better to myself. A lot of that just and it's just going to have to be us willing to continue putting in the work. But if you can look at it more positively and find a fun way to do it, just like you find a fun way to do other things in your life, like exercise or parent or whatever, if you can find a way to meet it halfway and enjoy it, it's going to make such a difference, because you're also choosing that. It's not being forced upon you, which is why you should continue to try to do these things on your own, because the world, the universe, God, whoever, you're going to have to at some point, like, come to places in your life where you have to deal with things that trigger you or the things that hurt your inner child. But if you willingly do work on those things in the moments you're feeling good, and start addressing those things, not that you're trying to purposely, like, re-traumatize yourself or trigger yourself, but if you can consciously work on things when you're feeling good, you're going to have more capacity to understand how to deal with them when you're bad or feeling not so great. Like, I teach Moana how to deep breathe when she's feeling great, and I'm just like, take some deep breaths, and so then
make it
she'll know how to do those when she's not feeling good, because when she's not feeling good, she's not going to think to know something she doesn't know how to do automatically. So
those coping skills are important, because when you're in this fight or flight, you're going to only do what you have been subconsciously programming yourself to do. And it's like what we were talking about in this another past episode of, like, reprogramming your mind. You are consciously choosing, okay, these are my natural coping mechanisms, and then you're also consciously choosing, like, if you can eventually make it to where your natural coping mechanism to dealing with stress is breathing and is reframing and is journaling. And
you don't even think about it.
Right.
You don't. So lovely.
You don't even think about it, and you can get there. Trust us. Like, from people who have been in really, really dark places before and have been in really parts of our lives where we've had no coping skills. That is actually attainable, but it's going to take a lot of work. And it's going to take a lot of sitting with it and being uncomfortable. On that. Well, I was just gonna say we're an hour and 10. If you
I guess
wrap it up.
Right. Yeah. I guess we can definitely do that, because these conversations can get into really big things, and we want to tell you all how to do them all at once. And it's just really hard. So, coping skills is something we're going to have to continue to talk about throughout. I think, just wrapping up, my last thoughts then is just like, the answer is easy. Society and ourselves and people who don't want to see us get better, or again, ourselves, because that was mainly me. I tell myself that all the excuses in the book, that I can't do it, that I don't know how, it's too hard, I don't know how to, but we do know how to. There are so many resources that are free on how to do these things. It comes back to, are you willing? And so I encourage everybody to be willing to do something for yourself this week that you wouldn't normally do, and allow yourself to see maybe the positive that comes from it. Absolutely. And even if the situation didn't go as well because you're just starting off and you're learning to walk and you may fumble, and that's okay, but pick out how good you felt in it. And that is going to motivate you to continue, because a lot of the times it's really easy. You just choose yourself. You start reframing your thoughts. You use coping skills. And you allow yourself to go with the flow of life. Basically, if you can do all of those, you got it. But the problem is those take work, just like a bodybuilder needs to continue to maintain their muscles, or anything that you need to maintain in life, it will constantly have work. So again, maybe this week until next, like, find a way to come to terms and let that go. That, that this is going to have to create work, but you're putting in the work in the foreground so that, like he just said, it comes firsthand.
Right.
You have to put in this hard work to learn how to do something and master it. Not master it, but I say that in the idea.
It's a work towards mastery.
It's a work
of
towards
yourself.
mastery. Yes.
Yes.
Never going to master it. But if you can work towards mastering it, it'll become like, like you riding a bike. They say you don't forget how to ride a bike, because once you learn how to handle your discomfort in one way, you can assimilate it or change some things, but have the base of it to deal
better with everyone. Yeah.
And it'll come naturally. And that,
Mhm.
I mean, you guys, I mean, you can list something in the comment that you have worked so hard on, and now you know exactly how to do, whether that's a physical thing, a mental thing, whatever. Leave that in the comment. Like, because we all have something. Take that and put that with your mental health, and you'll figure it out. And we're going to continue to motivate you and give you skills and encouragement, because we know your ass needs it, because our ass needs it, and we need to heal in community. So on that,
and
pass it back over to Kiki.
The last thing that I want to say is that, just to reiterate, it's not easy for anyone, no matter how easy it looks for someone else.
Yes.
Everyone has their own very complex internal issues that they're going through that are really different from yours. You're the only one going through your complex issues, and they're fucking hard, and it's okay that they're hard.
Yeah.
Life is not about going out and learning to do something and being good off the bat. Like, you're not going to be okay stumbling and fumbling through life. Like, once you learn how to communicate in an argument, you're gonna need to take some time before you learn really how to communicate with an argument, and then it's gonna take even more time to really understand how to apply that, and it's gonna take more time for it to become a natural. That's how it is with self-love and self-care and positive coping mechanisms, and turning them into a subconscious habit that you have. It takes time and a lot of hard work, and it does not come easy for anybody. Like, it's easy to look at someone who is on the other side of certain things that you are needing to work through and being like, well, it's easy for them. It's easy for them to do that. It's not easy for anybody. So don't invalidate other people, but don't invalidate yourself either, because what you're going through is hard, is meant to be hard, and stumble and fumble through it with faith that you're going to be better one day, because you fucking will.
But hey, think about it. 2 years of work versus the rest of your life of not having to deal with that problem, or are you going to deal with that problem for the next 70 years of life? I took 7 years to get over my codependency issues and still continue to have to maintain it. But the bulk of it is done. And so that was 7 years of like that. And even saying 7 years seems like a lot, but in reality, it is not. And that's what I'm trying to say.
And the thing is like, it's not like you're going to be in the same place for
it's
years
different.
or whatever. It's like you're incrementally getting better along the way. You're incrementally getting a little bit better and a little bit better, and life is getting a little bit better and a little bit better. It's not like you're going to do this whole thing and then one day, 7 years from now, you'll be better and you're going to feel the same way the whole 7 years. No, you're gonna continuously getting better. That's the point of life, is to continuously just get a little bit better and better. And you stumble and fumble your way through it. Nobody knows what the fuck we're doing. We're all just working through our stuff and hoping for the best, and being like, oh, I figured out how to do, like, that's what we're doing with you guys.
Yeah.
I figured out how to do this thing. Let me tell someone else
it's
so that I can help
life-changing.
them. Yes. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and it was an awesome conversation. Momo, thanks for showing up today.
Yes, thank you for the conversation. As always, I feel more pumped to go back into my day. So thank you.
Yes, and for everyone who's been watching and continues to watch, we love you. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you, guys.
And please comment, share, subscribe, like, all of the things. We want to hear from you. We want to heal from a community. Message us if you have some stuff that we have a space, we can hold space for you. Let us know. But anyway, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time. And this has been your daily dose of free
therapy. Thanks, guys.
Bye.